Coming up, North Dakota's top track and field athletes invaded Bismarck over the weekend for the annual state meet. We've got all the highlights, including a look at Century's surprise run to the boys' team title.
Plus, we'll check in with Alex Heinert, who's getting ready for this week's South Dakota Track and Field Championships in the Black Hills.
We've got a new champion in South Dakota Class A baseball. We'll show you how Brookings managed to claim its first title in 13 years.
Don't go anywhere. All that is coming up right now on Varsity Sports.
And hello and welcome to Varsity Sports. Alongside Jason Andera, I am Jay Elson. Well, an exciting spring sports season is winding down, and that means it's time to start handing out the hardware. Several championships were decided over the weekend in the Dakotas, and we've got plenty of highlights and reaction coming your way here over the next 30 minutes.
All right, we'll start in North Dakota, where the state track and field meet took place in Bismarck's Community Bowl last Friday and Saturday, and we've got a ton of highlights to get to. So let's get to it, Jason.
Yeah, we begin in Class A with a look at some of the top individual performances. Ashley Roan capped off a great career for Grand Forks Red River with a great state meet. She finished third in the 100 and won the 200, but it was the 400 that she enjoyed the most. And despite this fall at the end of the race, she beats Kara Hausler by just 7/100ths of a second.
That was a pretty grueling race, so that was fun. And all the girls next year are gonna definitely keep going and keeping up the legacy. So,
the 8th grader from Bismarck, Maddie Shirley Fairbairn, she broke her own platinum time in the 1600 on Friday with a 4:56.89 mark. And then Saturday she followed that up with a big win in the 3200. She coasted to a 12-second victory. Quite an inaugural state meet for the middle schooler. Another standout performer on the track was Afure Ada of Fargo Shanley. She won the 100-meter by just 2/100ths over Kara Hausler and Ashley Roan. She also placed first in the 300-meter hurdle with a new platinum mark of 44.05. The Class A boys 100-meter and 200-meter sprints, they've been a two-horse race all season long. Carter Gorney of Minot and Hunter Johnson of Bismarck continued that friendly rivalry last Saturday. In the 100-meter race, Carter Gorney clipped Johnson by just 5/100ths of a second.
The level of competition that us went against, there's 5 potential D1 athletes in that heat right there. And, you know, me winning it's just a great feeling.
But in the 200-meter, Hunter Johnson returned the favor with his best time of the season, 21.79. Gorney finished in second place with a 21.93.
The track star for Century burned bright in the quarter and the half mile for the Pats. Jacob Richter won both the 4 and the 8. Vern Curl of St. Mary's did test Jacob in the 800, but Richter came out victorious.
We've been in that position many times before, and I mean, I just got to think of my form, and I just look at their backs and chase them down pretty much.
It was John Tharaldson who racked up some big points for the Demons, as expected, winning both the shot put and the discus. Tharaldson threw nearly 6 feet better than the second-best competitor in the shot put and almost 10 feet further in the discus.
Coming in freshman year, my coaches would have never said I would have took both. So, I mean, I've trained a lot of discus in the past 4 years, and I finally got up to the point where I could win a state championship.
In the girls' shot put, a new star has emerged. West Fargo sophomore Akili Moten added 1.5 feet to her platinum mark to set a ridiculous standard of 47 feet 2 inches. She easily wins the State A crown. Ty Brooks was new to state track this year, but he did just fine, thank you very much. He placed first in the long jump and also took home the triple jump title.
It was my first year in track last year, so this is kind of new territory for me, and I'm just glad I could end my senior year winning the triple jump.
As far as the team competition, it was the Century girls who blew away the field as expected with 119 team points. They were strong in the relays, finishing first in the 4x1, second in the 4x2, third in the 4x4, and first in the 4x8. On the boys' side, Century entered Saturday down 50-29 to Bismarck, but they knew they had a good shot to total up big points in the relays. Bismarck had won 11 straight state titles coming into the season, but the Patriots pull off the upset.
I think there's a lot of good track teams, a lot of good track coaches in North Dakota, and I just couldn't be prouder of our boys and our girls to do it.
Well, we are just halfway through our coverage of the North Dakota State Track and Field Championships. We're going to have highlights and reaction from some of Class B's winners when we come back.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by AE Tech Electrical Training Center in Rapid City. Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Shields.
And welcome back. Well, Class A has commanded a lot of our attention this season here on Varsity Sports, but there was no shortage of track and field talent in the Class B ranks this season. And like their big school counterparts, the top small school athletes put their best foot forward in Bismarck. The Senior Athlete of the Year, Dakota Wood, had a banner day. She started Saturday with a second-place finish in both the 100 and 200, then dominated the hurdle. She took first in both the 100 and 300. By the way, her time of 44.10 in the 300 hurdles was a new personal record. The only girl who managed to beat Dakota Wood on Saturday was Beatrice Jelland of Park River. She wins the sprint double, taking the 100 in 12.26 seconds. She won the 200 in 25.47.
Elliott Stone of Shiloh Christian broke a 17-year-old state record in the 1600. He posted his best time by far with a 4:18.05 on Friday. And he came out rested on Saturday, refreshed, and won the 3200 with a time of 9:24.23. What a weekend for the senior.
It's incredible. I mean, it's my senior year, and I really want to end it on a good note and just give it my all for these last races, and really means a lot. It's been a good 4 years, and it's a really nice way to cap it off.
In the throwing events, it was Elijah Grady who contributed to Newtown's dominant day. Grady tossed a 51-1 in the shot and threw the disc 151 feet 3 inches to win both events.
Oh, that's huge. You know, back home, sports is a huge thing on our reservation, and a lot of people, no matter what, they'll be very proud of me, you know, and that's just a good feeling.
Over at the high jump area, there was a buzz in the crowd as Nolan Hovland of Rugby went for the highest jump of the year in North Dakota. He successfully clears 6'8", and that gets a big roar from the crowd and a little hug from the coach.
Came in, #1 seeded, 6'6", no one was really close, so I just knew if I came in and just did what I've been doing the last couple meets, I knew I had a pretty good chance of winning it.
The team competition on the girls' side weighed heavily in favor of the Hazen Bison. They finished second the last 2 years at state, but finally had enough depth to carry them to a convincing win. Hazen won 4 events in all and used a team approach to pick up points in 12 different events to get that state title. It was a much closer race on the boys' side as Newtown pulled out an 8-point win in the team standings. The distance events were a strong point as usual for Newtown. Ryan Wheeling, Scott Hale, Jalen Chase, and Joe Chase all placed in both the 1600 and the 3200, while Elijah Grady collected those big points in the field. Yes! All right, let's put a bow on all this now. Joining us now from somewhere in the Black Hills to make sense of the weekend that was in North Dakota, it's our high school track and field expert, Alex Hyder. Alex, first of all, where are you right now?
Jay and Jason, I'm actually in Custer State Park enjoying a great week with my family here in the hills. It's been a wet couple days, but hopefully that will clear up before the South Dakota State Track meet gets underway this Friday here in Rapid City, Sturgis, and Spearfish. Yeah, let's hope that's the case. Well, before we get to South Dakota, Alex, let's look back at what happened at the North Dakota State meet.
Yeah, obviously the biggest upset that no one really saw coming was Century's win over Bismarck High in the Class A boys. Explain how this happened and why we didn't expect it.
I know nobody really predicted this. Bismarck has had an air of invincibility for the last over a decade. Again, 12 straight titles was what they were going for this weekend. Most people thought they would get it. They had beaten Century at the West Region track meet just a couple days previous. But, you know, one thing that we didn't really consider as much as we probably should have is that the Demons' long-distance events, where they've been so dominant over recent years, yes, Sam Klausnitzer won both the mile and 2 mile, but they didn't have those kids filling in those gaps between 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to pick up all those extra points like they typically do. It wasn't so much, again, what Bismarck didn't do. It's what Century did. They had a lot of kids that exceeded expectations. Again, this was a team that was only supposed to finish around the 112 mark, and they end up going up 148. I mean, it was really an impressive performance from the Pats. Again, the best example, Lucas Mayer in the high jump. Supposed to finish around 10th place outside of the medals. He PRs, he goes 6'5", he wins the high jump. So from 0 points to 10, just in microcosm, that happened all across the board for the Patriots. And that was the difference, and that's how they dethrone the 11-time state champ Bismarck Demons.
All right, well, stick around. More to come from the Black Hills as Alex will rejoin us after the break to break down this weekend's South Dakota State Track and Field Championships. That's coming up next here on Varsity Sports.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by AE Tech Electrical Training Center in Rapid City. Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Shields.
Well, there's one track and field meet left in the Dakotas this spring, the South Dakota State Track and Field Championships this weekend in Rapid City. And our man Alex Heinert already on site, gearing up for this weekend's event in the Black Hills.
Alex, let's talk individual events first. What races or field events should we be really focused on this weekend?
Yeah, we're poised for a lot of great races coming up this weekend in the hills. You know, the first one that comes to mind, Class AA boys, a great chance to see Will Lauer of Sioux Falls Lincoln take on Jacob Simmons of Sturgis. The best race that they're going to have against each other is going to be the mile. If you look around AA boys, by the way, everything from the 100 all the way through the 2 mile, people have run at or under the state meet record. So every one of those races is going to be a lot of fun to watch in the AA boys side. AA girls, it's all about the sprints. Macy Denzer taking on Krista Bickley, taking on Courtney Dowling, and everything from the 1 through the 400. All those races will have a lot of implications on who's going to win a state championship on the girls side in AA. Class A girls, the relays are going to be really fun to watch. St. Thomas More in the sprints, especially in the 4x1 and 4x2, have a chance to break a couple of records there that Sioux Falls Christian had set just a year ago. A lot of fun for the Cavaliers, a great team there. St. Thomas More in the sprints going after records, and then Madison versus Hill City in the 4x8 and the medley. They had a great race against each other in that 4x8 at Howard Wood this year. I expect something similar to that coming up here at State. On the B side for the boys, you know, Brennan Schmidt is chasing history in a couple of different races, especially in the 400, though, his specialty. Larry Miller of Freeman has the state record all the way back from 1982 with a 47.8. Schmidt has run 48.1 this year. It's going to be fun to watch. That's an old record that could go down. On the Class B girls side, just pay attention to whatever Macy Hines is doing. She's running the 2, the 4, the mile, and the 8. That was a weird order to say that in, but that's what she's doing. Whatever she's doing, pay attention to that. Also, one more in the field events, by the way. Friday afternoon, 2 o'clock in Sturgis, Caleb Ellis of Brookings going after his own state record. He's jumped 16 feet this year. 16.1 would put him first all time in state history in the pole vault.
To the team races now. It sounds like we've got 3 potentially close races and 3 that won't be so tight. So talk about your locks for team championships first.
Yeah, let's start with the easy ones first. And the easiest probably is the Class B girls. Ipswich going after their 4th straight team title. They've won their past 3 by ridiculous amounts of points. It'll be a similar story this year. We already talked about Macy Hines. She's got a great shot to, again, win 4 individual events. They've got a lot of other kids that have stepped up from the sprints to the distance events. They've also got the top 3 pole vaulters in the state, which is nice. That's a great way to pick up an additional 24 points that wouldn't normally be there. And so they got a great shot to blow things out in Class B. And on Class A, St. Thomas More and both the boys and the girls are going to be heavily favored. I think that Madison could give the St. Thomas More girls a bit of a run, and I think West Central could do the same on the boys' side, but the Cavaliers, again, so deep in both sets. It's really the Rapid City Stevens model where they have great relay teams. They expect to get first or second in each of those 5 relay events, and they have some great individual kids, too, that are going to step up and make some things happen. So I think those 3, Ipswich in the B girls' side and St. Thomas More in Class A for boys and girls, pretty easy to point out and say those are probably going to be your state champions by the end of Saturday.
All right, well, that leaves us Class B boys and both Class AA team titles up for grabs. Break it down for us, Alex.
Yeah, the rest a little murky. Class B boys probably the most unpredictable, and usually is. It's a goofy race to call. Freeman this year, after you did the math, they're projected to win by about 20 points over Corsica Stickney, but some of those relay marks that Freeman is listed as the top seed in came likely with Brennan Schmidt running. He's probably only running one of those things, probably just the 4x4. That makes it a whole lot tougher to predict. So when you expect 10 points maybe in the 4x8 or in a medley, it's not going to be the same kids that have run those times. I really think the Flyers will probably get it done. I think they have enough going for them with Schmidt and a few extra medals from the relays. The Jags are going to make it interesting, though. There's a great contingent of sprinters there for Corsica Stickney, and they've also got a strong group of hurdlers and jumpers. I think they come up just short. I think Freeman takes the title. They were so close last year. I think they get it this year. AA boys, on the other hand, Lincoln won it last year. I picked them to win state at the beginning of the year. I still think they could. But on paper, Roosevelt is in line to take the title. And they've got a bit of a gap here, almost 20 points difference between the two if you add up all the seed time marks. Lincoln's biggest strength, their star power and their depth in the middle and long distances, has almost been negated by the emergence of Roosevelt's Josh Gearing, Jesus Urtu-Swastigi, the best name at state, and a few others. And when you add the 1-2 sprinting punch of Taryn Christian, Chase Vinatieri, Maywin A. Cook has stepped up in the hurdles. He's got a great chance to finish top 3 in both of those events. You've really got something there. I don't do this very often. I'm going to flip. I'm going to say Roosevelt takes the AA boys title this year. And then finally, we're saving the best team race for last, the AA girls. And this really is a coin flip. When you do the math, literally every point is going to matter. Everything will have title implications on Saturday between Rapid City Stevens and Brandon Valley. You basically have the perennial favorites versus the upstarts here, and it's going to be fun. This is basically a dead heat. They both come in right around 108 points when you project it out. Stevens is going to own the hurdles. They'll be dominant in the fields. They'll have a slight edge in the distance events. Brandon Valley, though, is going to dominate the sprints. They're going to split the relays, essentially. They're each ranked in the top 3 in all 5 relay events. I really have no idea how this is going to play out. But here's what I think it's going to come down to. If Krista Bickley of Brandon Valley gets 28 to 30 points, if she gets first or second in each of those sprints, in the 1, the 2, and the 4, and if a couple of their distance or their field kids can step up and they're in a couple of spaces ahead of where they're supposed to finish, they've got a great chance to take the championship. However, if Stevens sweeps the relays like they normally do, with the exception of the 4x4, which Brandon owns, and their distance kids perform right at where they're supposed to, I think the Raiders are going to retain the title. There's just... Like I said, it's tough to call, but I think scenario B is probably more likely at this point, although I think it's going to be nail-bitingly close, guys.
Alex will be back to break that all down for you next week here on Varsity Sports. Well, stay tuned. Brookings was the last team standing in Sioux Falls on Monday. We'll recap the Bobcats' run to the State A baseball title after this.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by AE Tech Electrical Training Center in Rapid City. Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Shields.
Well, it has been a long time since a team from outside of Sioux Falls has won the State A baseball championship. However, based on this year's tournament field, which featured 3 teams from outside the city, it seemed like there was a pretty decent chance that streak would come to an end here in 2015.
Yeah, Mitchell was the last non-Sioux Falls team to win the Class A title in 2009, and the Colonels gave themselves a chance to do it again with an 8-7 semifinal win over defending champion Lincoln. Mitchell took advantage of several Patriot miscues to build a 7-4 lead before the Patriots rallied for 3 in the 7th to force extra innings. But Lincoln's defense would let them down once again in the 8th inning as the Colonels scored the game winner and the Pats' 6th error of the day.
The day's second semifinal featured Brookings and Pierre. The Govs won all 3 regular season meetings between the two by 1 run. But the Bobcats get the one that really matters. They explode for 5 runs in the 5th, go on for a 9-0 win. Kyle Krogman went the distance, striking out 9 along the way. Well, that set up a showdown between Mitchell and Brookings for the State A title, Jason.
Yeah, the teams met just once during the regular season, with Brookings taking an 11-0 decision. But this one would be much closer.
Yes, it would. To Sioux Falls Stadium we go. Luke Norton and the Colonels get right to work. The bottom of the 1st inning. It's the delayed double steal. Rare call here, Jason. Caleb Stratmoen throw to the plate off the mark. Landon Negebauer slides in safely, and it's 1-0 Colonels. Gutsy call for Mitchell. It pays off with an early lead.
Yeah, good hustle by the Colonels.
The turning point, though, came in the 5th. Colonel starter Matt Larson had been cruising along until that. Mac Burns lines it right back at him. He picks it up, gets him at first, but then drops to his knees in obvious pain. It looked like it caught him right in the pitching hand. Larson would stay in the game, but he was not the same guy. The very next batter, Kyle Krogman, he lines a single to center. Carter Malum is going to come around to score. We are tied at 1 apiece.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a coincidence or not, but after he got hit in the hand, Larson was just not the same pitcher.
Mitchell looking to answer in the 5th, but Seth Frazier was having none of it. He gets Negebauer swinging to end the inning. Frazier fan 4 over 5, 1-hit inning.
Yeah, he was one of the many pitchers on this Brookings staff that it gave him quality innings time and time again.
Brookings bats really came alive in the 6th. 1 run in already when Burns smacks a sinking liner to center. Jed Schmidt can't quite get there. Stratmoen scores. Carter Gordon will come in as well. Burns' only hit of the game is a 2-run triple, and it's 4-1 Bobcats. Now that 3-run cushion proved to be more than enough for Jerry Cheddar. He comes on to get the final 6 outs, and the celebration was on. Brookings beats Mitchell 4-1 to win its first State A championship since 2002.
Our motto was just to have a short memory with everything today, whether it be good or bad, so that way we can come back and make the play the next time around. And our at-bats got better, we got better in the field, and we just kind of got stronger and stronger as the game went on.
Just so much work, so much unity, so much friendship, a lot of practicing hours. I mean, all these kids have been working their whole lives since Little League, and this is what they've been waiting for. This is the moments that they live for.
As soon as after our first practice, we were like, you know, we are going to be a state championship team. We are going to compete for that, try to get to the final day of state championships, and fortunately we won it. I mean, with this group of guys, we have an unbelievable group of guys. Us seniors, we've played together since we were 10 years old, and really, I wouldn't win it with any other people.
Well, the Brookings Bobcats definitely deserved the championship. I think it helped them that they got the most games in of any team in Class A this year. They were definitely dialed in toward the end of the year.
Yeah, they were. They had a really good tournament, certainly both pitching and hitting. All of it came together at the right time for the Bobcats. Well, 2 more baseball titles are going to be awarded this weekend in North Dakota. We're going to preview those state tournaments when we come back.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by AE Tech Electrical Training Center in Rapid City. Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Shields.
All right, the Class A tournament in the books here in South Dakota, but the 2 North Dakota State baseball tournaments taking place this weekend in Fargo and Mandan.
Yeah, baseball fans will be treated to 2 great tournaments. 8 teams in each field. We look at the A tournament, and you see any of those teams, especially the top-seeded teams with the deep pitching staffs, could make a run. Mandan, I think, West Fargo, Century has proven to be well. Davies kind of under the radar, and Grand Forks Red River won the East because of their depth and their pitching staff.
All right, that is our time for this week. For Jason Andera and Alex Conrad, I am Jay Elson.